The following episode of Millennial Pagan Podcast contains mentions of a business that is only a personal preference of the guest and not meant to be taken as a promotion. There will also be discussion that will be medical and nutritional in nature. Always discuss such concerns with your own physician before taking any action.
Welcome to Millennial Pagan Podcast. I'm Autumn Wolf.
And I'm Jera Stone. And in studio today we have Logan with us.
Hello.
So I understand we're going to be talking about something that your specialty is.
Yes, essential oils and how to use them properly and how not to use them incorrectly.
That bottom part's the important part.
Yeah.
Then not use them. Well, before we dive on into our normal stuff, Jera, how are you?
I'm good. Woke up with a little bit of a sore throat, sore legs. Did Superhero Saturday yesterday. It's not the illness. It's just talking to a bunch of people yesterday and actually walking around in my Hagrid boot stompers. You know, it's very. My calves are killing me. Yeah.
Time to do some calf stretches.
Yeah, I'm gonna start on that.
Yay!
So you know, I have an oil for that.
I'm sure you do. There's actually like a TV tray just full of oils. Like you can't even see the TV tray anymore.
I actually posted on our Instagram and Facebook, so you guys will be able to see said tray. So you can go ahead and look and see how many oils she brought with us, just to show.
So how is you doing?
I worked 9 hours without a break yesterday.
Oh no.
Yeah, we did a special event right after work, which actually went really well. But yeah, I did not get a break and not have lunch. I had breakfast and then I had 2 pieces of pizza from the event. That was it.
Yeah, that's actually more than I had yesterday.
Oh.
I mean, I had like a hot dog, and that was pretty much it for lunch. Like we came home, had like some lightly fried fish fillets for dinner.
Yeah,
Fish sounds amazing.
They were good. I do have to say they're the best pre-frozen fish fillets that I've ever had.
And then Logan, you just came back from something that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, with the Renaissance Festivals coming up here shortly. We start on February 8th. That is opening weekend. We run 8 weekends straight for a total of 19 days with 2 student days. Student days are February 25th and the 27th.
Yep, and you're working that, so you just got approval on costumage. Is that what happened today? Cool.
A lot of costuming approvals go on, and we start in September for auditions and everything. So if anybody's interested in joining FAIR, start with us in September. Look for the audition information because we do workshops and all kinds of stuff.
Woo, that sounds exciting.
And for any locals that have not been to the AZ Ren Fair, what are you doing with your life? But you need to go.
Well, I could understand people being like in Tucson, not wanting to drive all the way out.
So we have people who come to work the festival all 8 weekends from Tucson, from Florence. We have people who come in from Flagstaff. We have people who come in from Buckeye. And they come to work the festival every weekend as volunteers. So if you aren't coming out to the Ren Fest because you think you're too far, you're not.
Well, they killed that excuse for y'all.
I'm actually in the process of making a new outfit this year.
Ooh.
So I might have to go after Disney, but I'll be there.
Yeah, I still want a long sleeve dress, but it's probably just not going to happen this year because at this point, any of my seamstress friends are going to be like, I don't have time for that crap. Like, what's your deadline? No, because most of them work the fair. So yeah. Anyway, Logan is here, as we've already said, to help us learn about the wonderful world of essential oils. Woo! But first, as always, learning about our new guests' path and past will help us to understand where they are now. So Logan, please share your coming of which story.
Oh my gosh. So I came to the path really, really young in comparison to a lot of the people that I've spent time with. I was for a while there introduced to a dream walker in New Mexico where I was born. And they took me on a dream path, and I became basically the play toy of Bast.
Oh.
So from Bast to Hathor, and back to Bast, back to Hathor, they would bounce me back and forth, so I was essentially a string toy. And pull over here, pull it over there, pull it over here, pull it over there.
Not gonna lie, I just imagine Bass just doing what Elvira does with one of those fluff balls, just batting it back and forth like.
That's how it felt.
Oh wow!
It really felt like, you know, being pulled here, being pulled there, being pulled here, and then the goddess stepped in and she was like, "No, come here, I'm taking you away."
Bad divine kitty.
So you know when you punish a cat and the cat just gives you that look, yeah. I got that from both Bast and Hathor. They're like, "No, you took our toy away." But so from there, the goddess took me under her wing, and I've been following her path ever since. And I went on a spiritual journey with the Native American tribe that I was working with at the time, which was one of the sects of the Navajo. And that was a lot of work, a lot of study. And that lasted until I was about 8 and moved to Arizona. And then I got introduced to other tribes and other things and other experiences, and it's just kind of grown from there. But the goddess has been there with me the whole time. My stepbrother passed away a couple of years ago, and my stepsister was doing massage therapy, and she taught me how to do some of that stuff, which got me into doing massage, which I've now been a practitioner of for 10 years. And I got into essential oils because there was a lot of oils used in the Native American processes that we used, which, oh my gosh, 15, 16 years worth of learning and just studying and all of the individual stuff that I could do. And then I went to school for it and was like, I know most of this. Ooh,
Yay.
This is awesome. But that's where I learned a lot more about how you should use them, not just the spiritual reasons why you do, but how to actually use them to integrate them into your health and taking care of yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you mentioned that Hathor and Bast liked to play with you, and then the goddess kind of rescued you from that instance. Is there any other deities that are in your daily life or that you interact with a lot?
I still have some Egyptian pieces on my altar for Bast and for Hathor, because they're the ones who started me down the path. But aside from that, it's really just the three of them. And so far, we've had a couple of visits from Thoth, God of Knowledge, which was what started me into the whole, hey, I should do massage therapy. Hey, I should do this thing. Hey, I should go learn about the Renaissance. And hey, why don't you go do this thing? And it's just been a lot of dream walking and a lot of, you know, hints and things popping up in normal daily life of, you should try this thing. You should do this thing. And it's like, okay, well, you're the god of knowledge. Why not?
Right. And what would you define dream walking as?
So there's a couple of different ways that I've done dream walking. The first one is actually going into a meditation to the point where you are relaxed into a dreamlike state, and the gods come to you in that state if they decide that they want to or have something to teach you. The other way is to be induced into that state through a Native American rite or ritual. And in that particular state, it is very much like being in the real world, but you are transported to their world, to their space. And it's a little more intrusive on the gods than it is, you know, asking for their assistance. So you tend to spend more time trying to convince them why they shouldn't smite you or why you're interrupting their party. That was a bad experience. Yeah. You don't get the same kind of visuals that you would think. It's a lot of shadows, a lot of light, a lot of moving things. Like, for me, it was a lot of rainbows. Thoth was a lot of dark grays and blacks and things like that, whereas the goddess is a lot of whites and bright yellows. So it makes for a very interesting experience, and it's really hard to interpret a lot of that stuff unless they just directly come out and go, no, you're mine, come here, let's go this way.
Right.
Okay.
What kind of magic do you tend to do?
I tend more towards the herbalism type stuff of using plants and oils and foods and things to influence rather than to, what would you call it? Rather than spells, as it were. A friend of mine over the past year has really had a bad time with things like ovarian cysts. And it caused it to the point where she was told by multiple doctors that she was never going to be able to have kids. Or if she was to have kids, there would be a really, really high risk chance of her losing the kids during pregnancy. She very soon here, after going through 5 or 6 months worth of essential oils therapies, is about to give birth to a very healthy, very large 10-pound baby.
Oh my.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her family has a history of heavier children, anywhere from 9 to 12 pounds. So he's kind of right there in the middle, or she, not sure yet. But it's one of those of I like to use my magic in a way that helps others and encourages things to be the way that they should be, as it were.
Care magic.
Yeah,
That's what I like that.
very much.
Very healer.
Yeah.
Do you have a daily practice that you do?
Not particularly. It's really on a day-to-day basis of what am I doing that day? Who am I helping that day? I recently did a massage for another friend of mine, and we really just spent most of the time shooting the shit and chatting and just, relaxing rather than actually working on anything. So sometimes it's not about what it's more about what their end goal is rather than mine. So on a daily basis, as I get into things, it's more of what am I doing to help people today?
I like that.
Yeah.
So, kind of getting back on the subject a little bit of dream walking. What type of advice would you give anybody who's looking into actually doing more dream walking? Like they may have had experiences with it in the past, but not necessarily have actively tried it again.
Dream walking is a lot of listening and watching and waiting. The more you're trying to focus on what's going on, the less you're going to get out of it. You're dream walking for a purpose, typically, of getting information to come to you or having somebody come to you and speak with you. But if you're anxious and you're waiting and you're like, okay, it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. So if somebody's interested in getting into it, you could definitely focus more on listening to yourself, listen to your body, listen to your needs. Spend less time trying to do things and more time just being.
It's actually kind of interesting we started talking about that because I actually had a listener come up to me yesterday at Superhero Saturdays, and they said they actually wanted to know a little bit more about dream walking. So that's kind of just a little bit of help there for you. I know that we had talked about it, and so if you are listening, take some advice from that.
Very timely.
Yeah.
So before we take a short break and then dive into essential oils, I know that you also are a practitioner of Reiki, but you practice a different type of Reiki than Sunshine presented to us. So if you want to give us a short overview of how that's different, that way people get a better understanding that there are multiple different types than just what we've already presented and have a different idea.
So
you got really excited there.
Yeah. So as I understand it, Sunshine practices traditional Reiki, which is a very structured system where you do certain symbols in certain orders, and there's a lot of ritual that goes to it. I learned a practice called transformational Reiki, where it is much more of feeling the energies of the space and working with those energies. When you get into transformational Reiki and you're learning to be a Reiki master in that form, there's a lot less of the ritualistic, you do this before you walk in the room, you do this before you get to the table, you do this before you touch the person. Transformational Reiki is more of pulling the energy and feeling it outside of the body rather than putting your hand on the person and working their energy directly. There's still symbols. You still have certain things that you need to do while you're practicing. There's still a lot of things that you can do while you're practicing that are very traditional based. but it's more fluid, it's flowy, you're feeling it as you go rather than just following the steps and doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had a vision of like astral projection Reiki. Like
much.
pulling the aura of the other person as well as yours and manipulating it in space rather than on body.
Yes. So personally, when I do Reiki, if you've ever seen one of those, maybe a sci-fi show or something on the internet where they show you the blood system, the blood vessel system of the body, imagine a person laying on a table and you are pulling that out of their body. And wherever there's a congestion, wherever there's maybe a blood clot, maybe something's going on and they're getting varicose veins, the blood system there looks darker to me. It looks either a deep red or black. Sometimes blue. That means you're not getting enough blood flow to that area, so we work that area. If you're healthy, it's more of a goldy white color. So it kind of goes the whole spectrum for me. If somebody is feeling very much in their heart, the chest area will be glowing quite a bit. But more as a generalized glow rather than specifically to the blood vessels. But that's what I see when I do Reiki, is I lift that out of the body and I look over their whole system to see, okay, where are we having these blockages? What's going on? And I make sure that while I'm doing Reiki, I'm speaking with the person to learn more about why they're having these issues and what might be causing them. Because it's not just in the body, it's also in yourself, your soul. What are you feeling? What are you going through? Why is that causing you to have physical reactions to things?
Wow, I like that. That's kind of like a what was it? Hollow medical projections from like Star Trek and that type of stuff. Like that's actually kind of cool. I like the way that the visuals on that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Of course.
So we're going to take a short break and then we'll dive right into essential oils. Millennial Pagan Podcast is exclusively supported by Patreon. Listeners like you can gain great benefits from your favorite show, such as...
At $1 a month, you get a personalized shout-out at the end of the next full-length episode.
At $5 a month, you receive a thank you card in the mail with a Millennial Pagan Podcast button and sticker enclosed. Additionally, $5 a month supporters have access to our monthly 30-minute minisodes.
Patreon supporters are also the first to learn about new and exciting updates to Millennial Pagan Podcast.
More benefits and exclusive content to come.
And we're back. We got a bunch of oils over there, and if you guys saw the picture on Sunday, you know exactly how many oils are there. And we're gonna learn about each and every single one of every single one. No.
That will take far longer than a single podcast.
I know. We actually, you were talking to Sunshine during the break about this nice little stack of paperwork that you have in front of you.
Oh yeah.
It's like what, 40 pages?
It's a lot of pages. Probably like 25, 30.
Yeah, and that's all for one
oil.
Wow.
So this stack here, and we can link to it so people can take a look at all the stuff. So this is for the lemon organic essential oil that I get through New Directions Aromatics. That's the company that I use. They provide for you the safety data sheet, which includes everything from the product name, their botanical name, the specific case number that they use, the EIN/ECS number, your country of origin, how to use it, where they use it. It includes all of the label elements, such as don't drop your oil into the trash can and get it into the environment, because that actually can cause things to die. It's that strong. All the way through to if there's a fire that starts with the oil, how to fight the fire. For lemon oil, if somehow you manage to catch it on fire, you use foam, dry powder, or carbon dioxide to kill it. Stability, transportation information, how it should be stored, hazmat information. It gives you a certificate of analysis, so how it should appear, how it should smell, the solubility. It's got its specific gravity, everything down to the citral content. So this is the kind of stuff where when you receive your product, especially if you're using it to make soaps and oil blends and things like that for other people, this is how your batch should appear when you receive it. So that way you know it is of quality, it hasn't been contaminated, there's nothing in it that's going to harm you, and that it is in fact what it should be. I've seen where some companies will send you lemon, a bottle that says lemon, and it's lemongrass. It's a completely different plant.
Oh, wow.
It's not related.
No.
And the only way that people could tell is the smell. It looked almost the same, but you could tell it was just not the right thing. And when you actually went in and used it, it was like, no. Not the right consistency, not the right anything. This also gives, I'll give you 4 pages of that one, the GCMS analysis. So it tells you exactly the percentages of what is in the oil. So the linoleuls, the tannins, the everything. So how much acetone, tricycline, camphene, everything all the way through, how much camphor, citronellol, all the stuff. It gives you the actual chemical breakdown and percentages. The other thing that it gives you with all of this paperwork is, this particular one is certified organic. It gives you the National Organic Program Certificate of Compliance certification, which also includes a QR code that you can scan to find out where they did the testing. So you can see the website, the effective date, all the quality assurance information. This is why I like to use this company, because they give you everything.
So just from all the pages that you're just kind of flipping through, the big thing that I'm getting out of this is oils are serious shit.
Yes.
What I'm getting is that if you are going to spend money on oils, you should do it on a company that is this
Thorough.
this thorough and this obvious. Not obvious. What's a good word? This transparent.
Yes.
Mhm.
With their
That's
product.
a big thing. So the company is New Directions Aromatics. I use them exclusively. They are a fantastic resource for everything. So they have a US store, they have a Canada store. They source from all over the world, but they also are very ethical in their sourcing. So if you have, say, a lavender field in Italy that is struggling to produce, they will actually go to them and say, hey, we'll buy what you can produce for us at a price that you can do better with your plants. So they'll actually help small farmers to grow their stock by purchasing from them.
Wow.
So they're really, really cool in that they will actually source ethically from around the world. So like eucalyptus right now, the prices are going to skyrocket because of the Australian fires going on.
Yes.
They are in process of trying to source from other places so that they don't put more stress and strain on the koalas and the other animals in that area. Eucalyptus trees do tend to grow in very small, geographically in very small areas. Which makes it hard to source it ethically in a way that we can continue to use it the way we do. A lot of beauty products contain eucalyptus. A lot of, Vicks is going to get more expensive. Anything that you would have that eucalyptus in is going to get more expensive. So just fair warning to everybody listening that, if you want to buy your eucalyptus stuff, get it now, because otherwise, you're going to be paying a lot more for it in the next probably 10 to 15 years.
Yep.
So
While it's recovering and regrowing.
Absolutely. So they also provide you with the quality and regulatory information, the product name with the flow chart of how it's made and what they do, that it's not irradiated, so it hasn't been exposed to any radiation. They do radiation testing on all their oils. Sewer sludge statement, so they actually tell you that to the best of their knowledge, the product is free from and not processed with any kind of sewer sludge. So it's clean. It's clean oil.
It's clean.
It's clean. They have a GMO statement that it was not produced from anything with GMO plant materials. Pure and natural statement. So again, it's pure and natural. There's nothing mixed in. It's not cut with water. It's not processed with anything else in it. No other, olive oil or anything like that, which is in and of itself a whole mess. Olive oil and it not being pure and all that stuff. So they also look for pesticides, so it's within the European regulations, not the U.S. regulations. So
Which are much more stringent.
Yes. So everything is in accordance to the most strict laws that they can find, so that everything is as best quality they can get.
Wow.
it's paraben free. So there's no oil, there's no waxes in it. There's no wax combines in there. So, I mean, there's no solvents, there's no soaps. It's just pure oil. There's even food allergen information. So if you are allergic to peanuts or tree nuts or sesame seeds or wheat, barley, rye, oat, spelt, kamut, or other hybrids, if you are gluten, allergic to soybeans, dairy, fish, shellfish, or sulfites, there is none of that present in this product. So if you have any of these allergies, you're perfectly fine to use lemon oil.
So it'll tell you if there's something like, hey, if you're allergic to fish or shellfish, not to use this product in for that case.
Yeah, so there are some oils where it contains some of the same elements that are found in those fish.
Mhm.
So it would tell you, if you're allergic to this fish, you probably don't want to use this oil because it could possibly cause a reaction.
Wow.
So it will literally give you all the information. One of the ones that I find people like to use a lot, but which has a lot of issues, is grapefruit. You cannot use grapefruit anything if you are taking an upper, if you are taking a downer, or if you're taking any kind of heart or cholesterol-based medication. The reason being is that grapefruit, the chemical combination of what's in it and the enzymes that's in it will counteract what you're doing or increase it exponentially. So on the website, if you look under their documents, it gives you the safety data sheet, all the certificate of analysis, gives you all the same stuff as you find for the lemon. So it gives you the same thing with the food and allergen information. It still has none of this is present in these. So if you're allergic to any of that same stuff I said earlier, you don't have any issues with it. However, if you have any kind of issues with maintaining mental health, you can either do grapefruits or you can do your meds. Combining them is a bad idea. There's just a lot that goes into that. So, what else is in here? We've also got the GMO statement, so that was that. Heavy metals, it tells you, are there any heavy metals or are they within regulatory?
So what I'm hearing is while you're going through all these important documents that we can tell that we don't want these things that they're saying isn't in their oils, when you go to, say, Walmart and you grab an oil off the shelf, you're running the risk of something that they're specifically spending time and money to remove and make sure is never touch their product being in that product.
Yes. So the biggest thing with oils is research. Always do a lot of research on the company that is producing it or providing it.
Mm-hmm.
New Directions is a wholesale, and so they sell to other companies that then rebottle and then resell,
Mm-hmm.
or put into products to resell. So they provide all of this stuff. So if you're going just to Walmart and you go and you pick up a bottle off the shelf and you look at it, you want to look at how was it processed? Is it cold pressed? Is it anything like that? Where was it processed? Is it in the USA? Is it in Italy? Is it Australia, Canada? Where was it from? Where was it sourced? Does it have the scientific name of what the product is? And then you want to make sure that you're studying the company itself to figure out where do they source from. Because if they can't provide you all of this information through just a quick email or something, they're not a company you want to go through, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get the quality and the product that you want out of it.
So putting on your skin, inhaling, all of these things then becomes, you're risking your health by not making sure that they're willing to give you this information and being transparent with it.
Correct. Any company that is worth their salt will provide you this information as soon as you ask for it.
Right.
They'll gather it together. They'll get it to you. Now, that being said, New Directions also does a lot more than most companies will do, because they want to ensure that their quality stays quality. They do a lot to make sure that their product sells as what it's supposed to be.
So with that being said, that when you go to start with your essential oils journey at home, you want to start with a quality product from the get-go. And making sure that keeps your mixtures or whatever you're going to do with them safe as well from the start.
Of course.
Lemon.
Yeah. One of the things that I do stress is with oils is quality. Lemon is one of those where and I'm telling this to everybody who's listening, everybody, do not ingest an oil if you have not consulted somebody trained and certified to show you the amounts of which to use. For example, I have peppermint oil. New Directions Aromatics quality is 1 drop of peppermint oil is equivalent to 200 cups of peppermint tea made just from leaf. If you go to doTERRA or to Young Living or to any of these other companies that provide oils, theirs is equivalent to maybe 40 to 60 cups of peppermint tea. It is not necessarily a lesser quality product, but it is a lesser strength of product, just based on how they cut it, how they produce it, how they make it. So you really want to do your studies and make sure that whatever oils you're using, you know exactly the amounts that you should be using to do something with it. Peppermint, I don't even ingest this peppermint. I will use it neat on my skin when I do oil work. Neat, N-E-A-T is all capitals. That means that you're just putting oil straight on your skin. Unless you're a student of aromatherapy, please don't do that. You'll burn yourself. It hurts. It's not good. Especially if it's a brand new fresh oil, it's gonna cause issues. Just don't do it. But quality is huge. Quality is huge. Quality is huge. Always make sure that you know exactly what you're using, where you've sourced it from, and when you're using it on somebody else, make sure that you're paying attention to what they can have in their body. Do they have any allergies? Do they have anything going on that you probably shouldn't use this oil with? Such as with the grapefruit and stuff. So, quality is huge.
So we start with quality, then we work our way down. So we've already talked about why you would want to pick a company that's this transparent versus not, because of safety, and you want the quality of product that you're starting with. How do you tell the quality of a product before you even open your browser? Because I know I watched you pretty much just judge quality off of the bottle when Sunshine brought in her stuff.
Smell is a huge thing. If a product is of a good quality, it will have a very strong smell to it based on what you're working with. So Sunshine had brought in a collection of oils, and I popped open the cedarwood. And it was a very strong, spicy scent of stepping into a cedarwood forest. When you walk in, you have that smell, you know where you're at. That should be what you get when you open that bottle. We did the coffee earlier. It smelled like a fresh roasted cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it should smell. If you have an oil that is of a lower quality, it's not going to have that strong of a smell, or it's going to get a very chemical smell to it. It's going to smell like maybe it has an undertone of soap, or maybe an undertone of olive oil, which is what a lot of them cut with. Or it might have an alcohol smell. If it's not specifically supposed to be an alcohol oil, then it's probably not the best quality for you.
So, and then go.
Yeah. So pretty much, there's a lot of oils out there that'll just smell fake.
Yes.
That just won't, or just won't have a scent at all. But they're supposed to be, they're supposed to be like having the cedarwood smell.
It also will depend heavily on how long has it been since they processed it to how long it got to your shelf. Citrus, peppermints, the mint families, they tend to last and have a shelf life of about 6 months. After that, they just smell pretty. You lose all the properties, and it starts to break down as to what it should do for you therapeutically versus it just smells pretty. Wood scents tend to last the longest. They can have a shelf life of up to 2 years before they just get to the point where it's like it smells good, but you kind of get that scent of, oh, that's been sitting for a while.
Right.
Or it loses its scent. A lot of woods will lose their scent after time. So I have here 2 lines. This one is the one I've had for almost 2 years. And this is the one that I just recently picked up.
I am sniffing the old lime.
I'm sniffing the new.
Sniff, 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 sniff.
Ooh.
Okay, all right.
That reminds me of the freeze pops, the lime freeze pops. That's like super lime.
Yes.
And I have kind of more minute. I'd almost say like there's vanilla in the lime. Like it's just it's minute is the best word I could say.
Yeah, it's just not as strong of a smell.
Yeah, it almost it like the way it kind of feels on the tongue is like it's light and comfortable as opposed to sharp like lime should be. And then yeah. See, this is more like an actual margarita with sugar. Like it pops in your face.
Yeah, to me that this old one is like brushing up against a lime leaf. Like it still smells good, but it's not that hard lime smell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a huge way where you'll be able to find out, if you pop something open on the shelf at a Walmart, how long has it been sitting on that shelf? If it has that strong smell, it's more likely to be fresh.
Otter Pop cleanser. Like a furniture cleanser.
Yeah.
There you go.
But Otter Pop, oh my god.
Otter Pop, yeah.
Fresh Otter Pops.
Otter Pop. Yeah, and there's a difference that's palatable.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, I could actually, you don't want to do this, put that on my tongue and not burn. Whereas the other one was like, I'm salivating because it is that much of a crispness.
Yep.
Yes.
Oils are fun that way.
Yay.
Yeah.
So, not only from the scent, but you also were holding the bottle and you were telling her things that you could see right off the bat that tells you quality things. Where are those some of those things that you want to look for when you're holding a bottle of a company that is like new to you?
Yeah, so if you've never done any research on a company, you're going to look for the name of the product, which in this case, the one in my hand is grapefruit pink. It tells me that it is from a pink grapefruit as opposed to what I have over here, which is a white grapefruit. There's 3 or 4 different varieties of grapefruit, so you want to know where it's coming from. It tells me underneath it that it's a natural blend, so it was made from more than just one tree's pink grapefruit. They had to bring in more to be able to make the blend. So it's possible that in this case, it says country of origin Italy. It may have originated in, all the trees are from Italy, but it might have been pulled from different places in Italy, just based on what was available supply-wise. So it does tell you the country of origin. Any oil that is worth its salt will tell you that, of where it was sourced from. It'll also tell you, this one shows essential oil on the bottle. If it is a dilution, it'll say dilution 5%, dilution 10%. That's how much of the oil is in the solvent that it's put it in, whether it's water, whether it's alcohol, whether it's a carrier oil pre-mixed or pre-blended, which are usually a good way to start if you are starting into aromatherapy, if you're doing it for anything other than being a student of and practicing as I do with it. It'll also tell you the size, so how big your bottle is, and it'll tell you, most of them will give you a lot number, especially if you buy wholesale like I do. You can look up that lot number on the website or contact the company and say, hey, so this lot number is 9004-A06. Where was this sourced and what is the information on it, which again is this paper in front of me for the lemon. So you can actually get the information of each specific lot number as far as the gas chromatology, the MSDS. If there is anything that changes from lot to lot, they'll be able to let you know. So things like that are what you want to look for.
And then even if you wanted more of like that specific batch, you could just give them that information and they can pull it for you.
Yeah, and if they have any more, they can let you know, hey, we have this much available. How much of it do you want to have? So just different things to look for on the bottles. They also, I've got a couple of different caps here. You'll probably notice that, so the white one, this one actually, it's kind of weird looking. It's got really, really deep grooves on it. This was an older style cap that was used probably 3 or 4 years ago. Whereas this is what newer caps tend to look like. Even if you look at different oil companies, they all tend to get the same kinds of jars, same kinds of containers. So this one, the ribs are a lot smaller, they're a lot finer. It looks a little bit more squared versus a little more tapered. So if you want oils that are more recent, you want to look for the types of caps that they're using because they change throughout the years, style-wise too. So a lot of different things that you can look for of what you're looking for in your oils.
Right. So you mentioned citrus and mints have a very specific expiration date. What are some other expiration dates out there for oils, and when do they tend to start becoming bad as far as like definitely don't use, time to throw away, and then how to throw away.
How to dispose of them.
Right.
So
I know, big question. Sorry.
it's not a big question so much as it has a bit of a complicated answer because it really depends on how you store your oils. You want to keep them in a dark, cool place so that they have a longer shelf life. Lemons and other citruses have maybe a good shelf life of about 6 months. I've had a couple of these for 2 years and they're still perfectly fine. The smell may be a bit reduced, but they're still usable. The lime that you guys smelled, that smelled a lot fainter. I can use that for flavoring things. It still tastes like lime, still looks like lime, smells like lime. But if I was to use it as, say, a therapeutic oil, it wouldn't have as good of an effect. Lime is often a mood booster, so it kind of increases your, hey, this is good, this smells good, this tastes good, I'm up, I'm awake, I'm peppy. If you use an older lime, you'll still get that effect, just not nearly as immediate. It won't last as long. It'll take longer for it to take effect, things like that. Sometimes if it's really old, it's not going to do anything for you, which is where you get into a lot of where people are like, well, essential oils don't do anything for you. Well, it depends on your quality and how long you've had it. If it's a good top quality fresh, it's going to do a lot for you, especially nowadays where we spend a lot of time with medicine and a lot of time with pharmaceuticals, which are great in and of themselves, but our bodies have kind of built up immunities to them over the past few generations, where I will come in and I will use my essential oils on people, and like my friend with her cervical issues, the essential oils is what did the difference. And her doctors are like, cool, this works. So as long as you have somebody who's knowledgeable about what to do with it, it'll work better for you. If you get to where your oils are just not doing anything for you and you want to get rid of them, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. Lemon, use it as a furniture polish. Mix it with your furniture polish, go for it. Use it in a scent burner, just not around pets. Cats especially. We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
That was actually going to be a question, so.
Yeah, we'll get into that part. For like the woody scent, cedarwood is great if you want to put it in your closet as just a, hey, scent your clothes, make it smell nice. It'll also help get rid of things like moths. Peppermint, you can turn it into a tea. Just, again, be really careful about the amount that you're doing. Do 1 drop for a whole pot. Some of the ones that like are not ingestible, like eucalyptus, you can still use them for things like mixing with Vapor Rub and just make it a little bit stronger that way. Once you have empty bottles, I take all of the cap stuff off, I take all the labels off, and I boil the bottle. And I just boil all of the stuff out of it. At that point, it has been heated to a point where it is no longer a functional oil, and it won't harm anything when you dispose of it. You just let it go down the drain. Once the bottle is boiled and cleaned, then you can reuse it for whatever oil you want to put in it. And I've done that a couple of times. Thanks to you, I have a couple of bottles.
Yes, that my CBD habit does tend to create bottles that I will never use.
Well, and the nice thing is that because they're glass, you can reuse them over and over and over, and they're never going to bleed into your oils. They're never going to cause issues with your oils unless you drop it really hard. It's not going to break on you. It's not going to fall apart. You can just keep reusing them. Just buy new caps for them, because the plastic caps, they do suck in over time. But I've had, like on the limes, they're very, what's the word? Pungent? They're very pungent. They have a lot of acids built into them, citric acids and things. So, like, I will check my caps every month or so and make sure that they're not cracking or splitting. I've had several that I've replaced recently. You can see the white caps, the newer white caps, where I've had to replace the caps that were on there because they were starting to split apart and rip. And it's because the oils were just soaking into the plastic. So, you know, make sure you replace your plastic tops.
Chewing them up.
Yep.
So, when using them for like aromatherapy, like what would be like a definite no on how to actually get the scents out, get the actual usage of them, like what type of oil burners or things like that, like what would you recommend not using?
So there's a couple different ways to do aromatherapy. The first one is putting it on the skin. Put the oil on
Directly on your skin.
Directly on your skin. So there's what's called neat, which is oil directly applied to your skin. And then there is mixing it. So if you do any essential oils, especially of the New Directions quality, it's 1 or 2 drops of any given oil in about a teaspoon's worth of a carrier oil. I have today coconut oil. I've got sunflower and avocado blend, and then you can use things like olive oil, jojoba oil, grapeseed. It really just depends on what blends best into your skin and how quickly you want it to sink in. So you would do blends like that. You can also do things like burners. Please don't ever put more than 2 drops in a burner of any one given oil, and no more than 10 drops total of any blend. The reason being is that it can put so much into the air that it makes it hard for you to breathe later. And you don't want to burn it. You don't want to burn it for any more than 20 minutes at a time, especially if you have pets. It can cause them breathing issues.
Mhm.
Other than that, you've got oils that you can put into soaps and lotions. You can mix them into candles. You can put them in salt and sugar scrubs. You can do all kinds of things with oils. So there's no one way to apply the oils. You can kind of do a whole bunch of different things.
I have a necklace that has a lava stone, which are great for sucking in oils, that I can put it in. I actually make beaded bracelets with lava stones on them. And when I took a essential oils class at my summer solstice thing, one of the free gifts was a coaster that you put in your car's drink holder, and it has the lava stone on it that you can drop essential oils, so it'll freshen your car up, so you don't have to have dangly car center things, which I'm becoming more sensitive to fake fragrances the longer I'm living in a fake fragrance-free household.
Yes, and that's one thing, that sensitivity is huge. So if you go to where you are using less fragrances, essential oils are going to be more friendly to you because they are the pure original and it's not chemical, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not fake made stuff.
Yeah, I can tell. In fact, I actually had to throw out all of my Bath and Body Works sprays, and now I use slightly expensive perfumes made with essential oils.
They work better for you, don't they?
Yeah, and they stick around longer.
Yes. Yeah, typically things like the mints and the peppermints, you might get about 4 hours worth of smell out of. The cedar woods and the other woody type stuff, juniper and all that, you're going to get more like 10 to 12 hours out of. I make a bug away spray out of essential oils. There's probably 15 to 20 different oil blends in there. Everything blended together. And it'll give you, if you put it on your, below your ears, on your neck, right on your chest, and then in your armpits, you'll get about 6 to 8 hours worth, depending on how much you sweat, of no bugs. They won't go near you. They won't touch you. Nothing.
Which are things I have to use since DEET causes me asthma attacks.
Ooh, that's not good.
No, and I'm allergic to mosquitoes, so it's like a double punch. Like,
Oh, no.
you're just going to die in
I should
nature.
make it a blend.
Nature wants to kill me.
Now, I know you were talking about carrier oils. Now, what would you do? Like, what would you recommend? How do you find your carrier oil? Because I know it could be different for everybody.
Yes, so it really depends on how quickly you want it to sink into your skin and how long you want it to stay on your skin. For me, coconut oil works the best because it blends into my particular skin type really quickly. So what you would do is you would just dip your finger into the oil you're using and just slide it across the back of your wrist, just from one side to the other. And then just do that with the different oils up your arm and just watch them and see. Because, I mean, you could do one on each finger all across. But just watch and see how quickly they sink in with just being put on your skin. And then, so you'll be able to see which one sinks in the fastest, which one sinks in the slowest. If you're doing oils in a way to where you want it to affect you right away, you want to put it on your sweat points. So armpits, groin, neck, that kind of thing. That'll sink in even faster because it's a point where you're already excreting and secreting stuff. If you want it to go slower, you just look for the one that takes the longest to sink in. Now that will leave a film on your skin typically, so you end up wanting to shower after a while because you feel like everything's sticking to you and it's kind of gross. But it'll just it'll go slower, so it'll be a slower release of the essential oil. I think the longest I've seen someone take was they used, what did they use? It was almond seed oil, and it took about 30 to 45 minutes for it to sink into their skin.
Oh, wow.
Whereas coconut, for me, if I just put it on my skin, it takes maybe 30 to 40 seconds.
Wow.
So it's really individual. It just depends. You just buy small samples of different oils and figure out which one works best for you. Anything you put on your skin, because your skin is your biggest organ,
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure that it is food quality. You want to be able to ingest it as a food quality product, which is everything that I use. I could use it to cook.
Nice.
So, because, everything you soak into your skin is going to affect you internally. There's just some things that, like eucalyptus, you don't want to directly put into you because you don't have the processes and the organs and the things to actually functionally handle the poisons in them. Yeah.
So would you say that the 10 drops maximum is also safe for skin, or is that way too far?
It really depends on the effect you're going for and what area of the body you're putting it on. If I'm working on somebody's back, I might use 5 or 6 drops max. Again, depending on the size of the person. Somebody my size, I might use 4. Somebody Jera's size, I might use 6 or 7. It just depends.
Yeah.
And it also depends, are you hairy on your back? Do you need more carrier oil so you can get through to the skin? Or are you really smooth where you might only need 2 or 3 drops with like half the amount of carrier oil? So it just kind of depends on what you're going for and body type. Yeah.
Awesome. So what are some of those oils that are a huge no-no on skin?
Anything that would kill you. Anything that you are allergic to. If you are allergic to nuts, please don't use almond oil. It is a concentrated version of that product. If you are allergic to, say, pit fruits, you want to avoid anything made from a pit fruit. So anything peach or mango's a pit fruit, things like that. So you just really want to look at the family that the plant is made is from. So like tomatoes are in the same family as, what's it called?
The nightshade.
The nightshades. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're allergic to poison ivy, you don't want to use any kind of oak-based product, which in and of itself, oak oils are really hard to come by anyway because it's really hard to make the oil. So you're not going to find it as much. But anything in that same family, you don't want to use that because there's a chance that you'll react to it. It also depends on, like if you're allergic to citrus, don't use lemongrass. Don't use like lemon eucalyptus because it still has those components of citrus in them that make them what they are. So you want to make sure you don't use those, otherwise you're going to react to them and it could go really badly for you.
And then what are the no-no essential oils around pets?
That is really individual to the animal. So dogs, you can use almost anything on them. You want to avoid things like geranium. You want to avoid things that are going to cause their noses to go numb, like peppermints. But otherwise, you can use pretty much anything around dogs. They're pretty cool about that. Again, do your research. It also depends on the individual dog. If they have allergies to things, don't use it. Cats are the ones that are really, really, really sensitive to oils. You are very limited in what you can use on them.
And around them.
Again, 20 minutes tops if you're doing a burner, if you're burning an oil candle, if you're doing anything like that. Any of that type stuff. So cats do best with things like eucalyptus, tea tree, wintergreen, peppermint, cinnamon, clove, pine, pennyroyal, and lang lang, which is, I actually have it here. The only thing about lang lang is it is an aphrodisiac, especially for males, so don't use it around male cats. You don't want that spraying. You don't want that spraying. But so those are some of the ones that they're not going to react as much to. They're still going to react to oils. All animals will. We are animals ourselves. But they won't have the reactions and the potentially deadly anaphylaxis shock and things like that to those. Horses, goats, sheep, other farmyard animals, again, body size is much bigger. You can use oils on them to help them relax or around them. I've got a friend who uses peppermint on her horse to help him with his back issues. He's an older horse. I've got another one who uses tea tree. I have myself in the past owned guinea hens, and a raccoon almost took off one of the chickens, or one of their heads. Not chickens. Yeah. Had a big old hanging flap just of skin, and it was all the way through to his throat. We used a combination of lavender oil, tea tree oil, and just straight water to flush it, and about 2 months later, he was perfectly fine. No issues, no problems.
No more raccoon.
No more raccoon. We got rid of the raccoon.
Good. All right.
Yeah. We chased him off.
So what would you say, at least in your research, what would you say is the most surprising oil that you've come across that you never thought would have specific benefits?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have a couple of oils in here, such as spikenard and ravensara, that I really just haven't used because it's never really come up the need for them. And then I've got ones where, like my grapefruit, I have 3 different bottles of it because I use a lot of it. I really haven't come across anything yet that thoroughly surprises me like that. It's more of a, oh, okay, cool, and then move on.
Nice.
And last question is, tell us some of your favorite mixtures and why.
Well, the bug away spray, obviously, is definitely a favorite because, you know, no bugs. I don't like getting bitten, and bugs like me, so we do that. The bug away spray also works inside your home, so you can start with your most innermost space, start with the ceiling, get all the corners, work your way down, get the floor, and then work your way outward from there, and it will chase all the bugs out. And then you do a spray around the outside of your apartment or your house, and it will prevent them from coming in for about 6 months. Unless it rains, and then you gotta respray. But it'll last a long time to keep bugs out. We did that in Missouri, which is very spider heavy, and we'd go down the basement and find lots of dead spiders. Peppermint is an oil that if you have spiders or bugs that taste with their feet like they do, it burns them. It burns their feet. So it won't harm them, as it were, but when you're tasting something that's really, really strong, you're like, whoa, you have that reaction. Mm-hmm. Spiders have that to peppermint. So they will skitter away and not come back. And they will go so far because their feet can't taste anything for a while. So they will go far outside their normal range to where they will not be able to find their way back. So you won't have spiders in your space anymore. I do a blend of... So I have a couple that are pre-blended. One of them is called Sensuous Amber. They are no longer making this one.
Aww.
It has vanilla and amber and a couple of other things in there. And it's just a really nice, relaxing aphrodisiac type smell. It's got a little bit of the musk in there as well, which I have a pure bottle of musk over here. It's pretty strong. But it's a very warm kind of like, ooh, this is good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I've got one called Woodland Themes, which is cedarwood and pine and spruce and that kind of thing. And it's just a very woody, like if you're going into a meditation and you need something that is going to help you feel like you're in nature, especially when you can't get out of the city to do that. This is a great one because you can visualize being in that kind of forest. And then I have one here that is a recent addition that they brought up. It's called Red Currant and Thyme Tea. Now, these blends here are ones that you don't want to mix with a lot of, like, you don't want to ingest these ones. They're pre-made fragrance type ones for candles and things. But it's more of a light, spicy kind of thing, and it's got just a unique flavor. And so you can do a lot of just different blends of all kinds of things that really, it's very individual. The biggest thing with oils is contraindications, and that is the practice of if you have an allergy to it, don't use it. If you're going to have a reaction to it, don't use it. It is the number one thing that bothers me about people that just go and sell oils is they don't know when not to push an oil for somebody. They don't know how to go through a person's history and listen to what they might be allergic to or have had reactions to in the past. if you were a kid and you had a grapefruit thrown at you in the face, you might not want to use grapefruit because you might trigger a response in that person that they might throw a punch at you. I've had that happen before.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Body work and Reiki and energy work and essential oils can all bring up past things based on how you're using it, which is why it's good for dream walking. If you're looking for, say the woodland themes, you want to be in the forest, you can kind of get that sense from the oils. But it can also trigger things too. So, if somebody's ever, I know a lot of older people have had this where they've had to go pick their own switch when they were kids. If the pine tree was the nearest tree to them when they had to go pick their own switch, it's a very whippy wood. You probably don't want to use pine oils with them. It would be a contraindication for that person. So a lot of people who do oil sales are just not trained to look for things like that. So if you guys are out there and you're doing Pura Vida, if you guys are doing any kind of oil sales, take a class. The school I went to is SWIHA, Southwestern Institute of Healing Arts. They're at McClintock and Southern. They have a whole range of aromatherapy programs that you can go through. One of the ones I've got a book here for is the 5 Elements Aromatherapy Acupressure for Emotional Healing. You use points in the hand, in the back, and in the feet to help people heal from emotional traumas. It gives you sets of oils to use for that, but you can also kind of go through and pick and choose your own oils. So again, if that person has that aversion to pine, say they don't use pine sol, they don't use, anything that smells like that, it could be because of past trauma. You can use the pine in this process to learn how to help that person get past that trauma. So there's all kinds of fun stuff that goes into oils.
Awesome. So if somebody wants to get in contact with you, learn from you, or even be a client of yours, how do they get there?
So you can find me on Facebook at Native Relaxation. You can find me on my website at nativerelaxation.webs.com. It's still kind of under construction. I'm adding more things to it. I also have all of my massage modalities on there. So as I go and take more classes, I put those on the website so you can see everything I'm capable of doing. I don't have a public email at the moment that I have regular access to. No, I do have an email.
Ooh.
So it's Logan, Logan, period, Hippauf, Hippauf, @yahoo.com. And I do have access to that one.
Yay!
If you do have any questions for me as far as oils are concerned, you can just message me via my Facebook page. It's the easiest way. And I'll answer any questions anybody has.
Awesome.
Yes.
So this month, we want to thank our newest Patreon supporter, Mirage, for becoming a supporter.
Yes, thank
you.
you.
If you don't know how to be a Patreon supporter, or if you want to be, I think we had something in the middle there where we told you all about how awesome our Patreon page is.
Yes.
And how to get there. And Jera, if they want to poke at you, where do they go?
Well, I could give you my address, but that wouldn't be so good.
On the interwebs.
Oh, on the interwebs. Okay.
As everybody else who's in the studio goes and pokes you.
Of course, on my Twitter, at Jera Stone, on my Instagram, Haggard_cosplay, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
And you can find me, Autumn Wolf, at Autumn Wolf Facebook. And Twitter. You can also find my blog on Iron Wolf Circle at WordPress, and you can poke at me through our pages. On Facebook, we are Millennial Pagan Podcast. On Twitter, we are Pagan Pod, and we're also Pagan Pod on Insta.
Yes.
So you can do that. Also, our email address is millennialpaganpod@gmail.com.
Website's still under construction.
Yeah, we know all about that whole websites are still under construction thing. My IT guy went to Colorado during our scheduled times. So from all of us here at Millennial Pagan Podcast, merry meet,
Merry part,
and merry meet again.